Negative 14 degrees in Dallas, Texas right now. When was the last time you saw your city that cold in January? Because here's the thing, 73 million Americans are currently under some kind of winter weather alert. That's not the forecast. That's what's happening right this second. And what I'm about to show you over the next 25 minutes is exactly when this Arctic blast hits your specific location, which cities are about to get absolutely buried in snow, and why tomorrow's forecast models might completely flip the script on where the heaviest totals end up. I need you to drop your city in the comments right now. Seriously, tell me where you're watching from, because tomorrow I'm going through those comments and giving personalized forecasts for your exact area based on the overnight model runs. And I promise you, by the time we hit the 2-minute mark of this video, you're going to know the specific timing for at least 5 major cities. So let's do that right now. Chicago, you're looking at the worst of this hitting Thursday evening into Friday morning. New York City, your window is Friday afternoon through Saturday sunrise. Atlanta, and this is going to sound wild. You might actually see snow accumulation Friday night. Denver, you're already in it, and it's going to continue through Thursday night. Minneapolis, you're getting a brief break before round 2 hits Sunday. But here's what's keeping me up at night, and I'm just going to be completely straight with you about this. The European model and the GFS model are disagreeing by almost 200 miles on where the heaviest snow band sets up for the Midwest. 200 miles! That's the difference between Indianapolis getting 3 inches versus 12 inches. And we won't know which model is handling this correctly until we see the data that comes in overnight tonight. Right now, as I'm looking at this, temperatures across the northern plains are sitting at negative 25, negative 30 in some spots. That's air temperature, not wind chill. Fargo, North Dakota, is at negative 28. International Falls, negative 31. These are numbers we typically see maybe once or twice a winter, and this is happening while there's still a massive storm system organizing in the Rockies that's going to pull all this Arctic air south and east. Let me walk you through what's happening meteorologically here, because understanding the setup helps explain why the forecast keeps shifting. We've got a deep, upper-level low-pressure system currently positioned over Montana. That low is going to dive southeast over the next 48 hours. And as it does, it's going to tap into moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. Cold air from Canada, moisture from the Gulf. That's your classic setup for a major winter storm. But the exact track of that low determines everything. If it slides 200 miles south of where models currently show it, cities like St. Louis and Indianapolis get clipped with maybe 2 to 4 inches. If it tracks north, those same cities could be looking at 8 to 12 inches. And that's why I keep saying, check back tomorrow, because tonight's model runs are going to start narrowing that down. Kansas City, you're looking at snow beginning Thursday afternoon, probably around 2 or 3 p.m. Temperatures right now are sitting at 7 degrees. By Thursday afternoon, when this starts, you'll be at 12, maybe 13 degrees. Cold enough that this is going to be very dry, fluffy snow. The kind that blows around, creates whiteout conditions even with moderate snowfall rates. Current projections have you anywhere from 4 to 9 inches, but here's the thing I want to emphasize. That range exists because of the uncertainty I just mentioned about storm track. Omaha, similar story. 8 degrees right now, snow likely beginning Thursday evening around 6 or 7 p.m., continuing through Friday morning. You could see 6 to 10 inches, with the best chance of hitting those higher totals if the storm tracks closer to you. Des Moines, and this is where it gets interesting. You're right on that line where a 50-mile shift in the storm track either way changes your forecast dramatically. Snow begins Thursday night, probably after midnight. Continues through Friday afternoon, currently looking at 5 to 11 inches. I know that's a huge range. That's the reality of forecasting a storm that's still 48 hours out. Now, Minneapolis, you're in a slightly different situation. You got clipped by the initial system Monday into Tuesday. Some of you picked up 2 to 4 inches from that. This next round arrives Saturday night into Sunday. But what's happening to you right now, temperature-wise, is actually more immediately concerning than the snow. Negative 18 degrees this morning. The high today might reach negative 5. That's your H temperature. And that dangerous cold continues through Friday. Duluth, -24 right now. That's just absolutely brutal. And you're going to stay below zero, as in your high temperature stays below zero through Thursday. The snow for you comes later, Saturday night into Sunday, and that could be substantial. Early indications suggest 8 to 14 inches, but we're going to have much better clarity on that by Friday. Madison, Wisconsin. 12 degrees currently. Snow arrives Friday morning around sunrise, continues through Saturday morning. Looking at 7 to 12 inches. What concerns me about your situation is the timing. This arrives Friday morning commute, which means Friday is going to be a very difficult travel day for you. Milwaukee. Almost identical to Madison. 11 degrees now. Snow Friday morning. 7 to 11 inches currently projected. Both of you, Madison and Milwaukee, I'm going to be watching tomorrow's models very carefully for you because you're right in that zone where the European model has been consistently showing higher totals than the GFS. Detroit, 9 degrees. Your snow arrives Friday afternoon, continues through Saturday morning. 5 to 9 inches currently. But Detroit, you've got the added complication of lake effect potentially enhancing those totals on your west and southwest suburbs. We might need to bump those numbers up for places like Ann Arbor and Lansing. Speaking of Lansing, let's talk about you specifically. 10 degrees right now, snow likely beginning Friday afternoon around 3 or 4 p.m. Because of your position relative to Lake Michigan, if winds set up correctly, and I mean this is very specific, if we get northwest winds at just the right angle Friday night, you could see an additional 3 to 5 inches on top of what the main system brings. So your range is potentially 4 to 13 inches. That's not me being uncertain. That's me being honest about lake effect variability. Grand Rapids, similar lake effect potential. 8 degrees currently, snow begins Friday evening. Main system brings 4 to 8 inches, lake effect could add another 2 to 4. You're going to want to check back tomorrow because the overnight models will give us a much better handle on whether those winds set up for enhancement. Now let me shift to Illinois, because Chicago, you are absolutely in the bullseye of this thing. Currently sitting at -2 degrees. The snow begins Thursday night, probably around 10 or 11 p.m. This continues through Friday, possibly into Friday night. And here's what I'm seeing right now, the potential for 12 to 18 inches. I want to be very clear about something. When I give you a range like 12 to 18 inches, the lower end happens if the storm tracks a bit south and you're on the northern fringe of the heaviest band. The higher end happens if the storm tracks right over you or just south of you, putting you in the ideal location for maximum snowfall. We won't know which scenario plays out until we see tonight's data. But Chicago, even at 12 inches, this is going to be a significant, impactful storm for you. 18 inches puts this into the category of storms people remember for years. And your temperature during this, you'll be in the single digits the entire time. That cold, fluffy snow I mentioned earlier. This is going to pile up and drift badly. Rockford, everything I just said about Chicago applies to you. Maybe even more so. -4 degrees now. Same timing. But you might actually end up with slightly higher totals. 13 to 20 inches is not out of the question for you. You're a bit further north, which could put you more squarely under the heaviest band. Springfield, Illinois. This is where that model disagreement becomes really crucial. You're right on the line. Snow begins Thursday afternoon, continues through Friday morning. The GFS model has you at 3 to 6 inches. The European model has you at 7 to 12 inches. That's a massive difference. And I'll be honest, the European model has been handling these systems a bit better lately, but that doesn't mean we automatically trust it over the GFS. We need to see them either converge or see one clearly handling the atmospheric pattern better. Peoria, same situation as Springfield. You're on that southern edge where the forecast is most uncertain. 4 to 9 inches, with higher totals if the European model is right. Indianapolis, 7 degrees right now. Snow arrives Friday morning, probably between 6 and 9 a.m. Continues through Friday evening, and you are right in that zone I've been talking about. The model spread for you is wild right now. Conservative estimate, 4 to 7 inches. Aggressive estimate if the track shifts, 9 to 14 inches. I know that's frustrating. It's frustrating for me too, but I will have a much better answer for you tomorrow. Fort Wayne, similar to Indianapolis, but potentially on the higher end of that range because you're a bit further north. Snow begins Friday morning, continues through Friday night. 6 to 12 inches currently. Cincinnati sitting at 9 degrees. Your snow arrives Friday afternoon around noon, continues through Saturday morning. This is interesting for you because you're far enough south that we have to watch for a potential mix of snow and ice on the front end of this system. I don't think that happens. I think you stay cold enough for all snow. But it's something I'm monitoring. Snow totals looking like 4 to 9 inches. Columbus, Ohio, 10 degrees. Friday morning snow arrival continues through Saturday morning, 6 to 11 inches. You're in a decent position for accumulating snow with this system. But like everyone else in the Midwest, tomorrow's models matter a lot for refining that range. Cleveland, and I haven't forgotten about you on the lake. 8 degrees currently. Your main system snow arrives Friday afternoon, continues through Saturday. The system itself brings 5 to 9 inches. Then, Cleveland, we have to talk about lake effect. If we get northwest winds Saturday night into Sunday, and Lake Erie hasn't frozen over enough to kill the lake effect machine, you could see significant additional snow Sunday into Monday. That's beyond the scope of today's forecast, but I wanted to plant that in your mind. Pittsburgh, 12 degrees. Snow arrives Friday evening around 6 p.m., continues through Saturday afternoon, 4 to 8 inches from the main system. You're on the eastern edge of this, so your totals will be lower than cities further west, but this is still going to be a significant snowfall for you. Now, let me take this east, because I know a lot of you are watching from the East Coast, wondering when this arrives for you. Buffalo, 9 degrees currently. The main system reaches you Saturday morning, continues through Saturday night, 6 to 10 inches from that. But Buffalo, come on, we know your story. Lake effect Sunday into Monday could absolutely bury some of your southern suburbs. It's too early to put numbers on that, but I'd be shocked if someone in the South Towns doesn't end up with 20-plus inches total by Tuesday when this is all done. Syracuse, similar situation. 11 degrees now. Main system Saturday morning through Saturday night. 5 to 9 inches. Then lake effect potential Sunday into Monday that could add substantially to your totals. Albany, 14 degrees. Snow arrives Saturday afternoon, continues through Sunday morning. This is interesting for you because you're far enough east that the storm might be winding down by the time it reaches you. 3 to 7 inches currently. But I'm going to be watching to see if the storm transfers its energy to a coastal low, which could actually increase your totals. Now, Boston and I need to explain something to everyone watching from New England. Your forecast is the most uncertain of anyone right now, and here's why. Everything I've talked about so far is the initial low-pressure system that's organizing in the Rockies. That storm crosses the Midwest, weakens as it reaches the Appalachians, but then there's potential for what we call a coastal redevelopment. Basically, a new low pressure forms off the mid-Atlantic coast, and that new low determines what New England sees. If that coastal low forms and strengthens Boston, you could be looking at a significant snowstorm Sunday into Monday, 8 to 14 inches potentially. If it doesn't form, or if it forms too far offshore, you might only see 2 to 4 inches. This is not me hedging unnecessarily. This is genuinely uncertain, and we won't have clarity until Friday's model runs at the earliest. Portland, Maine, everything I just said about Boston applies to you, possibly even more variable. The coastal low either brings you major snow Sunday into Monday, or it misses you almost entirely. Hartford, Providence, you're in the same boat as Boston. That coastal redevelopment will determine your fate. Check back Friday for a much clearer picture. New York City, 18 degrees currently. Here's what I can tell you with reasonable confidence. Snow arrives Friday night, probably around 8 or 9 p.m. This continues through Saturday. The main system brings you 3 to 7 inches. Then the question becomes the coastal low. If that develops Sunday, you could see another 4 to 8 inches Sunday into Monday. So your total could be anywhere from 3 to 15 inches depending on whether we get one storm or effectively 2 storms. Philadelphia, 22 degrees. You're practically warm compared to everyone else. Snow begins Friday afternoon around 3 p.m. Continues through Saturday morning. Main system brings 3 to 6 inches. Coastal low potential Sunday adds uncertainty to your extended forecast. Baltimore and Washington, D.C. I'm grouping you together because your forecasts are very similar. Mid-20s right now, snow arrives Friday afternoon, continues through Friday night, This is your first real accumulating snow of the season, looking at 2 to 5 inches from the main system. The coastal low Sunday is less likely to impact you significantly, but we'll monitor it. Now let me shift south, because I know some of you in the south are watching this thinking this doesn't affect you. Oh, it affects you. Atlanta, 34 degrees right now. By Friday night, you're going to be at 28 degrees. And there is a real possibility, I'm not saying it's certain, but there's a real possibility that you see snow Friday night into Saturday morning. This would be mixing with sleet and freezing rain, which is actually worse than just snow. We're talking about potential ice accumulation that could cause power outages and make travel extremely dangerous. The reason I can't be more specific about Atlanta is that we're talking about the southern edge of this system, where small temperature changes make huge differences. Half a degree warmer, you get rain. Half a degree colder, you get ice. Right now, models suggest ice accumulation up to a quarter inch, with some snow mixing in for a total of 1 to 3 inches of wintry precipitation. But Atlanta, I need you to check back tomorrow, because this forecast could change significantly. Charlotte, 31 degrees currently. Same situation as Atlanta. Friday night into Saturday morning, potential for snow mixing with sleet and freezing rain. 1 to 4 inches of total wintry precipitation possible. The ice threat here is real. Raleigh, 33 degrees. Friday night into Saturday morning, better chance of staying mostly snow compared to Charlotte and Atlanta because you're a bit further north. 2 to 5 inches possible, but there could be some sleet mixed in. Nashville, 18 degrees right now. You're cold enough that this should be mostly snow. Friday afternoon through Friday night, looking at 2 to 6 inches. Nashville. This would be your biggest snowfall in several years if we hit that higher end of the range. Memphis, 23 degrees. Snow begins Friday morning, continues through Friday afternoon. 1 to 4 inches currently. You're on the far southwestern edge of this system. St. Louis, sitting at 5 degrees. Snow begins Thursday evening around 7 or 8 p.m., continues through Friday afternoon. And St. Louis, you're another city where that model disagreement really matters. Conservative estimate, 5 to 8 inches. If the European model is right and the storm tracks a bit north, 9 to 14 inches. Tomorrow's data is crucial for you. Louisville, 13 degrees. Snow arrives Friday morning around 9 a.m., continues through Friday evening. 4 to 8 inches currently projected. Lexington, Kentucky, 15 degrees. Friday morning into Friday evening, similar to Louisville, 4 to 8 inches. Let me jump back to some cities I haven't covered yet in the Midwest and Plains. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, negative 20 degrees right now. You're already in dangerous cold territory. The next system reaches you Saturday afternoon into Sunday. Snow totals looking like 4 to 8 inches. What concerns me about your situation is that dangerous cold continues through the weekend. We're talking about wind chills potentially reaching negative 50 or colder. This is life-threatening cold. If you don't need to be outside, don't be outside. Rapid City, negative 12 degrees. You got hit earlier this week with snow. The next round arrives Friday night into Saturday morning. 3 to 6 inches currently, but your cold is also dangerous. Wind chills dropping to negative 35 or lower. Bismarck, North Dakota, negative 26 degrees. The cold is your immediate threat. Snow arrives Saturday into Sunday, looking at 2 to 5 inches. But those temperatures, you're not getting above zero until Sunday at the earliest. Billings, Montana, negative 15 degrees. Snow continues through Wednesday night. Then you get a brief break before another round Saturday. Total additional accumulation through the weekend, 4 to 9 inches. Now let me hit some cities in other regions that are being impacted by this in different ways. Denver. You've been dealing with snow since Monday. Currently at 8 degrees. Additional snow continues through Thursday morning. You've already picked up 6 to 12 inches depending on exactly where you are in the metro. Another 2 to 4 inches possible through Thursday. Your concern now shifts to the cold. Highs only reaching the mid-teens through the weekend. Colorado Springs, similar to Denver. Snow continues through Thursday morning, additional 2 to 4 inches. 5 degrees currently. Cheyenne, Wyoming, negative 3 degrees. Snow continues through Wednesday night. Additional accumulation 3 to 6 inches. But it's that wind, gusts to 45 miles per hour, creating whiteout conditions even with relatively modest snowfall rates. Salt Lake City, 21 degrees. You're in better shape than most of the country, but you're not getting out of this unscathed. Snow arrives Thursday night, continues through Friday afternoon. 3 to 7 inches currently for the valley. Mountains obviously much higher totals. Boise, Idaho, 26 degrees. Snow Thursday afternoon through Friday morning. 2 to 5 inches in the city, more in the foothills. Now, Pacific Northwest, you're dealing with something completely different. Seattle, 41 degrees. Spokane, 28 degrees. Your systems are separate from what I've been describing. Seattle, you've got rain continuing through Thursday, then a break. Spokane, you're looking at snow Wednesday night into Thursday morning, 2 to 4 inches possible. Let me come back to some cities in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic I haven't covered thoroughly. Scranton, Pennsylvania, 14 degrees currently. Snow arrives Friday evening, continues through Saturday morning, 4 to 8 inches from the main system. Allentown, Pennsylvania, 17 degrees. Friday evening through Saturday morning, 4 to 7 inches. Burlington, Vermont, -2 degrees. Your main concern right now is the cold. The snow arrives Saturday into Sunday, looking at 4 to 9 inches. But those temperatures? You're staying below zero as a high temperature through Thursday. Portland, Maine, and I'm talking about the Portland and Maine now, not Oregon. 6 degrees currently. Snow Saturday night into Sunday. And this depends heavily on that coastal low I mentioned earlier. Could be 3 inches, could be 12 inches. We need to see Friday's models. Bangor, Maine, -1 degree. Same situation as Portland. Coastal low will determine your fate this weekend. All right, at about the 23-minute mark here, I want to circle back to something I asked at the beginning. I really do need you to drop your city in the comments. I know I've covered a lot of ground here, but there are hundreds of cities I haven't specifically mentioned. And tomorrow, I'm going to go through those comments and respond with updated forecasts based on overnight model data. So if I didn't mention your city specifically, tell me where you are. Let me recap what we're looking at here because this is a multifaceted, evolving situation. The immediate threat, right now as we speak, is dangerous, life-threatening cold across the northern tier of the country. Wind chills are reaching -50 or colder in parts of the northern plains. That continues through Friday for most areas. The second threat is the major winter storm that's developing. This brings heavy snow to a wide swath from the Rockies through the Midwest and into parts of the Northeast. Exact totals and locations are still being refined, but we're talking about 12 to 18-inch snowfalls for some major cities. The storm timing is Thursday through Saturday for most, with lingering effects into Sunday. The third threat is for the South, the potential for ice accumulation from Atlanta through the Carolinas. This is Friday night into Saturday morning, and ice storms are particularly dangerous because of power outages and travel impacts. The fourth threat is the coastal low potential for New England Sunday into Monday. This is the least certain piece of the forecast right now. Here's what I need you to understand about forecast uncertainty. I've given you ranges today, sometimes pretty wide ranges because that's honest forecasting. A storm that's still 48 to 72 hours away, we simply cannot tell you with certainty whether Chicago gets 12 inches or 18 inches. We can't tell you with certainty whether that coastal low develops for Boston or not. But what changes between today and tomorrow is we get new model runs tonight. Those models will have more recent data. They'll be one day closer to the event. And historically, that tends to narrow the uncertainty. Not eliminate it, but narrow it. So here's what you should expect from tomorrow's video. I'm going to come in with updated model data. I'm going to tell you which models converged and which ones are still disagreeing. I'm going to give you refined snow totals where possible. And I'm going to start looking ahead to early next week because, and here's something I haven't mentioned yet, there's another system that might impact the East Coast Tuesday into Wednesday. That's right. This pattern is not done after this weekend. We're in an active, cold pattern that's probably going to persist through at least the first week of February. But let me end on this note, because I think it's important. Models can be wrong. Forecasts can bust. I've been doing this long enough to know that confidence can be misplaced. So while I'm telling you what current data suggests, I'm also telling you that weather is chaotic, predictions are probabilistic, and the only thing I can say with absolute certainty is that tomorrow's forecast will be more accurate than today's. If you're in the path of this storm, make your preparations today. Don't wait until Thursday or Friday when everyone else is at the store. Get your supplies now, charge your devices, have backup heat sources if possible, especially if you're in areas where power outages are possible. And please, take the cold seriously. This is not just, oh, it's winter in Minnesota, we deal with this. These are dangerous, historic cold temperatures in many locations. Frostbite can happen in minutes with these wind chills. If you absolutely must be outside, cover all exposed skin. Tomorrow's video drops at the same time. I'll have overnight model data, refined forecasts, and I'll be going through your comments to give personalized updates. This is a developing situation, and the story is going to continue to evolve. Thank you for watching. Stay safe out there. And seriously, drop your city in the comments. I want to help you prepare for what's coming.